High school sports, we've got it covered. Overtime starts now.
Hello and welcome to Overtime, another playoff edition. I'm Regan Holgate.
And I'm Scott Leber. We have playoff fever here. Last weekend just increased our appetite for more with so many of our local teams advancing to round 2 this weekend.
Most of our local teams will take the field tomorrow. We'll look ahead to those games. Tim Bailey will join us to discuss the two remaining Nick 10 teams, Harlem and Boylan. We'll also bring you our Fab 5 picks for Nick 10 players this season.
And I'll have a feature story on the quarterback of Sycamore's undefeated and #1 ranked football team in Class 5A, Eli Meyer. Well, there were two local teams that got a jump on round 2 by playing tonight. One was the Byron Tigers.
They were dominant in the 3A opener last week. They blew out Lyle Senior 52-7, but they faced a much stronger opponent tonight. They traveled to Seneca to take on the undefeated Fighting Irish. That's the team that defeated Winnebago last week. Quick 3-and-out for Seneca gives Byron the chance to strike first. And a great block there from Braden Smith, and Ashton Henkel will run it in. 7-0 Tigers. Next drive for the Fighting Irish, Colin Wright finds a gap, and there's a whole lot of green grass in front of him. That 53-yard run ties the game at 7. Oh, but Byron always has an answer, come on. And this one will come from Smith on the keeper right here, and the Tigers reclaim the lead. Pretty back and forth here in the first half, but Byron would soon pull away. Freshman Caden Considine on the carry, and he fights his way in. And of course, only fitting that the Considine Waterboy crew was there to witness the domination. Byron took a 28-14 lead into half and would never let up. See you back in round 3, Tigers. 56-21, the final from Seneca.
That's an impressive win. Well, the other local team in action tonight was Rochelle in Class 4A. The Hubs traveled to Johnsburg to face one of their Kishwaukee River Interstate 8 Conference rivals. The Hubs beat the Skyhawks 60-34 in Week 3 of the regular season. Now, the Hubs had the ball first and marched it downfield. Eric Metzger finished off the drive here, and he just refuses to be stopped until he's into the end zone. 8-0 Hubs. Second quarter, the Hubs again with a ground game. This time, Garrett Gensler turns the corner, and he scores from 8 yards out. While the Hubs ran the football, the Skyhawks countered with their air game. Anthony Bravieri threw 2 touchdown passes. That one to Braden Olson helped put Johnsburg up 16-14. But the Hubs grabbed the lead back before the half. Metzger gets a big hole right up the middle, and he was gone. 34 yards for the TD. The Hubs are moving on to round 3. They defeated Johnsburg 34-22. We're just getting warmed up, folks. We have a whole bunch of games tomorrow to focus on. 5
NUIC teams will be playing, and Stillman Valley will be facing an old playoff rival. You're watching Overtime. It seems like every year in the IHSA football playoffs, either Stillman Valley or Byron has to go through IC Catholic of Elmhurst in order to advance. This week, it's Stillman Valley's turn again.
The Cardinals will play at IC Catholic tomorrow afternoon in Elmhurst.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, go.
These are two of the most successful football programs in the state when it comes to the playoffs. Both of them have won 5 state championships. The Knights of IC Catholic are making their 23rd playoff appearance. They won 72% of their playoff games. The Cardinals are making their 29th playoff appearance. They won 69% of their playoff games. And these two schools have a playoff history. They've met 4 times previously since 2002. And now this will be 3 times in the last 4 years that there have been playoffs. The Knights have won 3 of the previous 4 meetings.
In some ways, it's rivalry-like. Now, they've gotten us the last several times, so, I think anytime a rivalry really becomes heated is when the other side takes care of business, too. So we're going to hopefully flip things this year.
We know what they've done in the past and taking out Stillman in the playoffs a couple years ago. We really want to, do our best, trying to avenge them, basically. It's an honor to play them.
IC Catholic poses a major test for any defense with its spread offense and speedy receivers. One of them, junior KJ Parker, has college offers from Wisconsin, Iowa, and Iowa State.
What they do, we have seen. Now they do it at a higher level, and they're a little bit faster and stuff. But we've seen it now. It's just a matter, can we go out and execute it? Can we handle their speed overall?
We're not going to see a speed that they have, and we know that. So we just got to try to practice as much as we can and adjust it as much as we can in game time.
Football is more than speed, it's technique, it's effort, it's heart, it's teamwork. Those are all things that make up the Stillman Valley Cardinals.
They play awfully hard, and if you play very, very hard for 48 minutes, you usually got a chance.
I think we're a group of guys that just never give up. Last week we got down really early, and a lot of teams, they start to shut off, and I just think a lot of our guys, they just kept pushing and pushing, and we came out with the win.
That was Stillman's 48-33 win over Monmouth Roseville last week. Now, IC Catholic won its opening playoff game over Chicago King.
IC Catholic's only loss this season was in week 2 to powerhouse Joliet Catholic by 1 point, 23-22. Also tomorrow in Class 3A, Genoa Kingston will play at 10-0 Princeton, and at 5 o'clock, the Dupac Rivermen will take on undefeated Reed Custer in Braidwood, which is down near Wilmington. Here in Rockford, there's a very interesting game on tap in Class 1A. Rockford Lutheran will host Fulton. The Crusaders got their postseason off to a great start last Saturday with a road win at Anawan Weathersfield. Fulton was the second-place team in the Northwest Upstate Illini Conference. The Steamers defeated both Dupac and Forreston during the regular season. Their only conference loss was to Lena Winslow.
The Steamers have a terrific passing game, as you see there, led by senior quarterback Braden Dykstra. It's going to be fun watching that group match up against the great athletes that the Crusaders have. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff at Lutheran if you're looking for a good game to go to that's close by. Lena Winslow will have a home game for the second straight week. The Panthers will host Oneida Rova at 1 o'clock. Last Saturday, the Panthers destroyed their opening playoff opponent, Chicago Richards, 48-6. Oneida Rova won only 2 games last season. The Cougars made a big jump, though, with 6 wins so far this season, but not enough of a jump probably to hang in there with the Panthers, more than likely.
The Dakota Nation will be out tomorrow afternoon to cheer for their Indians. They'll host Ottawa Marquette in a 1A playoff game at 1 o'clock. Ottawa Marquette is a perennial playoff team. The Crusaders have a record of 9-1. Dakota celebrated its first playoff win since 2018 last week when the Indians rallied to defeat Iroquois West 16-14.
There's a different level of excitement throughout the school and, around the community. There's kids that aren't football players or involved in athletics excited about the game. And so these kids really did an unbelievable job kind of bringing the community together. Ottawa, we played them week 1 last year, and then in 2018 we played them in the second round of the playoffs. They've got a good squad, good team of players, but I think we do too.
The Forreston Cardinals are ready for more playoff action, and this time with a home game. The Cardinals will host Chicago Hope Academy. The Cardinals got some much-needed momentum last week when they won a playoff game at Peru St. Bede, 46-22.
I think that was a huge confidence booster, just especially after how the season went and finishing 5-4, knowing we were going to have to probably go somewhere and play. So to be able to go and play on the road and play a higher seed who has a better record, it definitely helped us with our confidence.
Chicago Hope is undefeated, though. The Eagles defeated only 2 teams with winning records during the regular season, but those teams were Ottawa Marquette and Quincy Notre Dame. So what can the Cardinals expect from the Eagles in the Battle of the Birds?
Very athletic, very fast. We definitely have to corral to the ball and definitely break down and tackle on legs, because if we go high, they're just going to make us look silly.
The NUIC is one of the most physical conferences in the state. And with them not being in a true conference, they're used to just kind of dancing around. And we are a hit you in the mouth, we're going at you 3-4 yards a pop. This game is going to be about who has more grit.
There will be 3 playoff games of local interest in 8-man football tomorrow. Polo at Ridgewood, Amboy at MCP, and Milledgeville at Biggsville West Central. Also tomorrow, Sycamore will play at Mundelein Carmel in Class 5A. We're going to have more on the Spartans and their quarterback, Eli Meyer, coming up in a bit.
Up next, we focus on 2 Nick 10 teams that are still standing, Harlem and Boylan. And Tim Bailey joins us with his Fab 5 Nick 10 players. Three Nick 10 teams were bumped out of the playoffs last week, and the 2 that remain are Boylan and Harlem.
Both are going to be playing tomorrow. The Titans have a 1 o'clock date in LaGrange Park against Nazareth Academy. The Roadrunners have a record of 6-4, and that's considered a down year for them because in the last 7 years, they've won 3 state championships at the 5A, 6A, and 7A levels, and they finished second in the state 2 more times. Last week in round 1, the Roadrunners beat Glenbard South 48-22. The Titans, though, were really strong on the defensive side in their 31-0 shutout win last week over Hillcrest.
Harlem gets a home game tomorrow evening in 6A against Grayslake North. Grayslake North has a record of 9-1. The Knights finished in a 3-way tie for first place in the Northern Lake County Conference. The Huskies have looked good the last 3 weeks with 3 straight wins. One was against Belvedere North. Last week, the Huskies beat Chicago Amunzen 35-21. No Harlem team has ever made it past the second round of the playoffs, so maybe the Huskies can make some history tomorrow. And of course, we can't talk Nick 10 football without Tim Bailey, and he joins us now. It's great to have you back for one more week.
Thanks for being back. Yeah, I'm excited.
And Tim, what do you think of Harlem's matchup against Grayslake North? Is this the year that the Huskies can finally get over the hump and make it into the third round of the playoffs?
Well, I think it's going to be an exciting game. Harlem's at home, so they have home field advantage, so that's always big in the playoffs. Grayslake is no slouch. They're going to come ready to play. Been able to watch some film on Grayslake over the week. Very physical up front. I think if Harlem can really get their offense clicking again like they did last week against their opponent that they beat up on last week, and get Muhammad and also Too Young more in the offense, I think Harlem can actually really do some damage at home. So I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be closer than what a lot of people think.
All right, the Boylan Titans, they had it going on defense last week. They pitched that shutout against Hillcrest. And now the Titans' reward is they get to face a tremendous football program in Nazareth Academy. As I mentioned before, they've won 3 state championships in the last 7 years. They've finished second in the state twice. But what do they have this year, Tim? Because that's all that matters. What do they have this year?
Film doesn't lie. So what I saw on film was a really, really solid team, very physical, very skilled, at the skill players, really good quarterback, sound defense. But I think Boylan's going to match up well with these guys. I think what Boylan needs to do, tomorrow afternoon is just really come out and just take that defense to another level. I mean, they played well last week. They just need to come out and put forth another great effort on defense in order to slow that offense down in Nazareth. Offensively, just continue to do what you've been doing, but just do it better. Just understand that, you don't want to turn the ball over. The elements may not be going your way, so you just want to be able to just protect the ball and just play Boylan football.
Good luck to both Boylan and Harlem tomorrow. We've been all business these last 11 weeks, so now it's time to have some fun with Tim and recognize our Fab 5 football players from the Nick 10 this season. All 3 of us made our own list. Tim, let's start with your Fab 5 offensive players at the skilled positions.
Well, this was tough, just a lot of lost sleep over the last week. But here, I'll go number 1 here. Quarterback Connor Dennis Boylan. I mean, just a phenomenal season he's having. Slot receiver Isaiah Huey out of Hononegah. I mean, this kid, I can say so many things about this kid. I'm excited to see what he brings to the table next year. He's at number 2. Number 3 here, Mekhi Glover. I mean, you're talking about the heart and soul of Boylan's running game. I mean, this guy right here, Mekhi Glover, is the real deal. Running back, Nico Bertolino, Belvedere North, just a stud. Again, we could see that guy go from 0 to 60 in 0.2 seconds. I think he's had a phenomenal year. He deserves to be on this list. And then lastly, wide receiver, Mark Harris from Boylan. He's a playmaker. He's been making big plays all year. I look forward to see what he's going to be able to do tomorrow, and then also, too, what he does in the near future at the collegiate level.
That list right there, Tim, is why they pay you the big bucks. QB Connor Dennis, I had him too on there. No explanation needed. Rasheed Johnson from Boylan. Also Isaiah Huey and Jamani Muhammad from Harlem. You've talked about him already today, and he's only a sophomore. Remember that, folks. And Nico Bertolino, of course, from Belvedere North.
All right, my Fab 5, Connor Dennis, so it's unanimous there at quarterback. Nico Bertolino, there's another unanimous pick. Now I'm going with Guilford running back Javon Jones, hard runner, love to watch that guy. Jamani Muhammad, I'll take his lightning speed. And now, this last pick came down between Mekhi Glover and Rasheed Johnson and Boylan. I went with Rasheed because every time I look up, he's scoring a touchdown one way or the other through the air or on the ground.
He's a real deal, Scott. He's a real deal.
Now, of course, we have to show some love to players at other positions. So, Tim, give us your Fab 5 players who play on the lines, linebacker, or defensive back spots.
Again, another sleepless, week. Just late getting to bed, just thinking about this list here. Linebacker here, Davion Black. I mean, what a playmaker on defense for the Vikings this year. He had a phenomenal season. Linebacker Jack Carino Boylan. He's a stud on that ball and D-line. Hopefully, he can bring it tomorrow, make some noise, and take the Titans to the next level. DT, James Benson, Guilford. This kid's only a sophomore. And I'm going to tell you something about this kid. This kid is going to be really phenomenal. If he can just do what he needs to do in the weight room, get better during the offseason, work on his technical skills, all that good stuff there. DT, Jasper Jenkins, Auburn High School, another great player who had a phenomenal season. He's only a junior. He'll be back next year, so hopefully he'll be able to do some things better next year that he didn't do this year. But he was definitely worthy of the list. Linebacker, last but not least, Jamar Johnson. We don't talk about this guy a lot, but I'll be honest with you, he's probably one of the most valuable players on that Boylan offense.
All right, in my list, Davion Black as well, but Gian Herrera, do not sleep on him. And Harlem's Keyshawn Harrington McKinney on the O-line and D-line. Nick Winters, Belvedere North, and Austin Alonso for Boylan.
All right, my Fab Five are DeAndre Young at cornerback of Harlem. Love him there. Nick Winters of Belvedere North. Like him, too. I'm with you, Reagan. Gian Herrera of Guilford. Got to be on my defensive line. Jack Kerno of Boylan at linebacker. And Joe Alvarez at Jefferson. Yes, Joe, I love watching you play. Doesn't matter where they put you on the field. He can play anywhere. Yes, and that man is a hard-nosed dog. Yeah, all right.
Exactly.
And because we're all football fans here, obviously, we can't wait until next year, so why not talk about next year? What teams do you expect to contend for the Nick 10 championship, and what team might be ready to make a big jump next year?
I think the teams that'll contend are the teams that you're seeing already contending. I think you'll see Boylan up there. I think you'll see Harlem up there. What Boylan brings back, offensively, you got Hansard that's coming back on offense. He's really going to be a huge playmaker for Boylan next year. You got Johnson coming back at running back. Then you got Dennis coming back. I mean, they're not even really reloading. They're just going to come back more powerful. Harlem's going to be good again. You have Muhammad coming back, and hopefully they can find a quarterback that can fill that void of Redmond actually going off to graduation this year. Again, Guilford's going to be good. I mean, Guilford was probably one of our most improved teams, but I think Guilford's going to be a top program in Hononegah as well. As far as teams that are actually going to surprise us, I think Jefferson may be that team.
I'm curious to see, because they made big steps this year. Doesn't show on the record. Hononegah and Belvedere North have a lot of kids coming back, too. I think we're in for a great year next year.
I think so.
Tim, we have so enjoyed hanging out with you
guys.
these Friday nights the past 12 weeks. We always enjoy your input. Thanks for what you bring to the show.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, up next, it's our Overtime Spotlight segment. Here's a player, folks, quarterback Eli Meyer of the undefeated Sycamore Spartans.
I was getting there.
Sycamore's football program has been on quite a run. Last season, the Spartans reached the state semifinals in Class 5A. This season, they're 10-0 and ranked #1 in the state in Class 5A. A huge part of their success has been senior quarterback Elijah Eli Meyer. Meyer has been the Spartans' starting quarterback since the third game of his sophomore year. That was the shortened spring COVID season in 2021. The Spartans won all 4 of their games with him at quarterback that season, and they've kept right on winning. His head coach, Joe Ryan, says Meyer first caught his eye long before that sophomore year.
I think I saw him as about a 4th grader coming to our camps. He was that special. He just had ability. The ball just spun off his hand differently.
Meyer grew up watching the Spartans, learning the Spartan way, and admiring some of their great players.
Well, definitely Ben Neiman. I mean, he was something. And then, honestly, just like the team from 19, like when I was a freshman, they were like, when they lost, like I was just devastated.
Now Meyer is likely to go down as one of the all-time great players in Sycamore history. He'll be the first to tell you he's surrounded by a lot of great players who are responsible for Sycamore's current success. But there's no question Meyer has played a big part of it. He throws a spectacular deep ball with accuracy that you don't see often from a quarterback in high school, not at the 5A level. He and sophomore receiver Bert Goucher make a dynamite combination on deep passes. Meyer is also accurate with the short passes. He is the perfect point guard on the football field to distribute the ball to Sycamore's many playmakers: Goucher, Tyler Curtis, Zach Crawford, and Joey Paleo. Meyer can also take off and run the ball when he has to, like on this touchdown run last Saturday night in the playoff opener against Chicago Westinghouse.
I would say sneaky fast. You don't think he's very fast until he starts running, right? Because he's kind of a glider when he runs, but he gets where he needs to go really fast.
Meyer is also an even-keeled quarterback. He rarely shows emotion after a bad play or a good play. When he comes to the sideline after a Sycamore touchdown, he's still all business, little emotion.
I'll celebrate after, like the game. Like we need to win first, and then it's fun.
He's pretty even-keeled. That doesn't mean he doesn't play with emotion and play with passion. It just, you don't see it as much from him, but he's very much into the game. He's very knowledgeable about the game. He's watches a lot of film, student of the game, loves the game.
After every offensive play, Meyer runs to the sideline to get the next play call from Coach Ryan. That's symbolic of the connection these two seem to have with each other.
Eli knows me well enough and I know him well enough that we feed off each other. I can tell him things and he sees it. Not a lot of kids can do that. They got to have it drawn up, or they got to see it on the TV, or they got to see it on film. We've been together so long that he can tell me things too, and we're on the same page, and that's a huge advantage for us.
Despite giving eventual 5A state champion Oak Park Fenwick a battle in the semifinals last year, despite being 10-0 and ranked number 1 in the state this year, Sycamore still probably doesn't get the respect it deserves. Meyer senses that.
We're a public school from DeKalb County. I mean, people don't look at us and like, oh, they're gonna beat us, but that's just, we like that. We like feeling disrespected.
It might take a state championship for Sycamore to fully get noticed. Previous Sycamore teams have reached the state semifinals 3 times, but they never played for a state championship. There are big games ahead for the Spartans, starting with this Saturday's game at Mundelein Carmel, and Meyer will be ready.
He's not afraid of the big moments, you know, and to play quarterback, 5A football, 1A football, 8A football, you got to have a quarterback that's not afraid of big moments.
Eli says he's not sure about playing football in college right now. He's just focused on finishing this high school season, helping the Spartans go as far as they can, and then he'll evaluate what he's going to do next.
And as you pointed out, Eli doesn't show a lot of emotion, but I'll bet he'll show some if Sycamore goes on to win a state championship.
Yeah, I think you're pretty much right on that one.
We'll be right back. If you want a second look at tonight's show, you can find it shortly at mystateline.com. This has been our final overtime show for this football season, and it's been a fun one.
It certainly has, and we're going to do it again for basketball starting the first Friday in January. For now, so long. Good luck again to our playoff teams tomorrow, and enjoy your weekend, everyone.